Hi, my name is Labyrinth, and I'm going to show you somewhat unoriginally a MySQL high availability setup with DRBD and Pacemaker. I'll do that using LCMC to make it more interesting. LCMC runs on your desktop computer and connects to the cluster nodes via SSH. If you already have configured cluster, you can quickly connect to it with this quick box here. Or you can start a wizard that also helps to install and configure the cluster software. I prefer 2 KVMs running Ubuntu Precise, but it would work with any Linux distribution. Just let me go quickly through the wizard. You could choose another username or another port. Okay, it's secure. I've already installed software that I will use. The versions are whatever came with Ubuntu. If this software is not installed, you can press the install buttons. One thing you can still choose is whether you are going to use carsync or heartbeat as a messaging layer. I've chosen carsync, and so should you. So we have Pacemaker, carsync and DRBD. I also install MySQL. You can still use the LCMC if you don't have all of these components installed. Another host is Bob. Bob is the same. Now I configure the cluster. Name of the cluster, for example, name of the application for which we need our MySQL database. The dev store, except we will not have a single point of failure. Well, that's not very original. Now that I didn't install Heartbeat, I can't choose it. Let Heartbeat rest in peace and continue. Okay, there is already a config. You could create it here. We should specify at least 2 interfaces. Now the DRBD is loaded, carsync is running. Somehow the package maintenance decided to start carsync on boot. You may decide not to do this. Now we have 2 nodes, Alice and Bob. Both are online. Let's give Alice a better color. Later this color will become important. When you click on the host, you can see CRM-man output if you are used to it, or CRM shell output. Right click gives you some options like switch over. Right clicking on background shows you some options. In the menu, there's a menu here. Let's go to the storage menu. I create a physical volume on SDB block device on both nodes. I create a volume group on STB on both nodes. and I create a logical volume very small. Yeah, it's 70s after all. These logical volumes I want to replicate one node to the other. I use DRBD for that. I choose a net interface which will be used to replicate the data, the port, name of the resource. There are some other options with mouse over help. Our DRBD block device name. Metadata. I choose internal metadata. It means the metadata from DRBD will be stored by the end of the device we chosen before. Or you could choose another block device. Same on Bob. I create new metadata. Now this block device is connected. And now I could simply use data that were there before. Then the full string would be started. If I choose one of the nodes to be primary. So in this case, the full sync, all the data from Alice will be synced to Bob. Or I create file system now, and then the initial full sync can be skipped since the file system will be created on both nodes. So first the Alice would become primary, then anything that would be created on Alice, like file system, will be replicated to Bob. You just do that. Now the block device on Alice is primary, so anything that is written here will be replicated to Bob. There are some actions you can do with this, like resize, and some DRBD related actions that you normally don't use because the pacemaker takes care of this. And there are a lot of options. We are going to need file system resource agent that mounts our DRBD device. Here's the DRBD device. The mount point is going to be our MySQL data directory. The file system type is x4. The DRBD resource agent was created automatically. The DRBD will be started before file system. but they are both in unmanaged state. This is because we didn't configure any stunif, and stunif is enabled here. To get to the global config, I click on the background, or I choose it here in the menu. To configure stunif, you can do this here. For example, IPMI, and configure like that. But I don't have it, so I just remove it and disable stunif. And I hope that the enemies of the Death Star will not find out and crash into our network link or something. But stunif is something you have to do and configure using LCMC, of course. Now the resources are pink, and it means they are running on Alice, which means the DRBD is primary on Alice and secondary on Bob, and file system is mounted on Alice. There's some other things you have to set. So go to the global config. There's a no quorum policy, which is set to stop, which is not good for two-node cluster, because when one node fails, the other one will not have a quorum. So let's set it to ignore. And other thing is resource stickiness, that I have to set to some positive number, so that resources are not allocated in some arithmetic that only Pacemaker author understands. Next ingredient we need is the IP address. It's right here. I don't want to start it right away. I choose IP address. Here the R mask. This is sometimes necessary, sometimes it isn't. So I just set it with 24 bits. And I want to start this file system before IP address. And I start it. Finally, I will add MySQL resource agent. I want it to be primitive. Target role stopped. Now there are more options in advanced mode. Oh boy. I'll go with the default values. Start IP address before the MySQL. And at this point you want to set up your MySQL, for example, grant privileges, to set up armor. I just disabled it. I will install the MySQL default tables on Alice. Also, you can edit config file from LCMC. I've set this bind address here. Okay, that worked. Now we have our MySQL running on Alice. Let's play with it a bit. We can stop, for example, the file system, and everything about the file system stops. The IP address and the MySQL. The DRBD is not affected. I start the file system again. MySQL takes some time to start. You want to make sure that these timeouts are not too low. Now let's say we want to move everything to Bob. So we make a switch over from Alice to Bob. Okay, this blue stripe means that Bob was secondary, now it's primary on Bob. File system mounted, IP address is started, now MySQL will be started. There's one problem with that. It is stopped on Alice, which means that we don't have replication from Bob to Alice, and sometimes we don't want that. So let's put Alice back online. Now it is secondary on Alice. But now we don't make the switch over, but we migrate all resources away. And this makes the right thing. Now never forget to remove these migrate constraints, because now if Alice would fail, it will never start on Bob. I can remove this like that, or I just control click on all of them, which means U and U and U, and I can remove migration constraint from the selection. You can set host locations. Here you could say never run on Alice. Now let's say that the Jedi come and destroy our Alice. Now it seems that our Death Star is destroyed, but instead it starts on Bob. Well, the Jedis are screwed.